All right. Hello and welcome to Backstage with Gig Performer. My name is Brett Pontecorvo, and I've been walking us through our latest series, Build It with Gig Performer, how to keep it simple, powerful, and effective. I know a number of you have popped in already and said hello. Sol, thank you so much for being here. Tehran, good friend of mine, popping on. Thank you so much for being here. Tehran, Jeff Wheeler, regular viewer, thank you so much. Pierre, number one to say hello today, thank you so much for being here. So friends, before we jump into Setlist View today, just let me know in the comments right now, like, have you guys had an aha moment? If you've been following along with this series, like, what is the number one thing so far that you have taken away from this? Because I've been thinking a lot about this, and I had an awesome discussion actually with Naboja the other day, just about Gig Performer and some of the features and all of these things. And I think the biggest moment for me that's made me go, oh yeah, the biggest thing I've gotten out of this series is that Gig Performer is extremely powerful, but it's actually just the power is in the simplicity. The power is in the simplicity. We could talk on and on for years about how to do the minutia of Gig Performer and all of the power features that it has, all of the amazing things that it comes with. But really, when it gets down to it, the most powerful feature is that you can sit down and be up and running quickly with something stable that's going to meet all of your live performance needs. So if you've been watching and you've had a moment where you're like, yes, this was my thing, go ahead and share that in the comments with us. We'd love to celebrate with you, truly. Schamass, thank you so much for having you here. Erik's a community member, a wonderful programmer, and you've probably seen some of his stuff featured in the newsletters if you haven't already. But today's video is all about Setlist View. So we're going to pop over and explore some of the things that come with the territory of Setlist View. So if you have been checking out our last couple of episodes, then you've probably been with us when we built these specific Rackspaces. So Sol, you popped in, you said that you're still new to the family, so still too blown away to have specific questions. Well, we're so happy you're enjoying it. We are so happy that you're blown away to have specific questions, but as you do have them, feel free to post them. Okay, so here we are. We've built these Rackspaces, and each of these Rackspaces holds sounds, right? They're comprised of our blocks in the back with our wires and our mixers and whatever we've decided to kind of add in there. And then they're also composed of widgets on the front end. And these widgets allow us to save particular parts of the parameters. So if we want to have several different versions, I know we have one in here, right? Several different versions of sounds, right? Variations. That's why we call them that. We can do so using widgets and song variations. Now, this is great, but we do run into a bit of a problem, and this is the problem that Setlist View solves. The problem is, even though we have all of these Rackspaces, now we need to make them function in a particular order for our live performance. So we could jump around, right, using our up and down buttons, but really the most effective thing that we could do is create a set list that has our songs and has our Rackspaces that we need in a particular order. And that's what Gig Performer allows us to do. So you'll see up here at the top, we've got this button that says Setlists. So if we click on that, it's going to pop us over to Setlist View. Now, I've got a song in here already because I want to explain just some of the parameters that Setlist View introduces us to. But if you look at the screen, we're going to take a bit of a visual tour, okay? In the very middle here, we have our song title. And this is a decent size, so you can see what you're doing if you need to, see it from far away if you need to. Then we've got next song, which right now is blank, but because we don't have one, but we will very soon. And then we've got previous song, which does the same thing, but in the opposite direction. So we kind of get an overview of where we are in space. Where are we starting? Where are we going to? What's coming up next? Okay. Below that, we have these song parts here, and this is going to tell us where we are in the song. Now, we have the ability to customize these a little bit, which we will also do, but we'll get there. On the left-hand side, we'll have our set list. And right now there's only one song, but we are going to add another one. And then below that, my face is hiding it just a little bit. I'm going to get rid of it. So below that, we have a list of all of our Rackspaces. And this is going to bring in a list of exactly what we see here. Okay, so the only difference is that we have easy access to it on the bottom. And each of these song parts allows us to save a Rackspace or a Rackspace variation to fit with that particular part of the song. Now, there are a couple of more options that we have when it comes to set lists and songs. So let's go through those. I did that a little fast. I'm going to back up. If you click on options, there is an option here that says setlist/songs. Okay. So when I open that, you will see the very first thing that I'm able to do is change how many song parts per row. And I think this will update automatically. So if you know that you're somebody who does songs that have a lot of parts, you can begin to adjust how many parts you want to see by using the song parts per row. Now, I typically try to not use too many song parts because I think it's a lot of work for me, for my mind to kind of navigate. So I'm going to leave it at 3. Now, you can also change the number of rows. So if you have a lot of song parts and you need to see more rows than are currently visible, you can adjust that as well. And then you can also default name your parts. So if you're somebody who wants these to say 1, 2, 3, or say start, beginning, middle, end, whatever it is that you dream up, you can have that, right? Then we've got some other options here. I'm going to leave these out for now, okay? Because this is stuff for you to dig into as it becomes necessary. But we don't need to jump there quite yet. And then at the bottom, we have a default location for Chord Pro. So if you're somebody that likes Chord Pro files, you like to use them, you have that option down here. So let's pop back over here. Now, when I am thinking about using Setlist View, the very first thing that comes to my mind is, well, I'm going to need to be able to control the metronome. And the reason for that is a lot of the music that I play is just set up to a click. And because I'm the keyboard player, I'm often the person that's running that thing. So we're going to set up a way to control the metronome. And the way that I really like to do this is actually in the global Rackspace. So I'm going to pop over to my global Rackspace and jump to the wiring view. Now it looks like I've actually already added a system actions block, but I'm going to get rid of it so you can see the whole process here. So if you right mouse click, you'll see you have your list of things, list of internal plugins, list of installed plugins. And under miscellaneous, you will see the system actions option. And this block gives you access to system actions, anything that kind of helps to control gig performance. So for now, that's all we need. I'm going to pop back over and enter edit mode, and I'm going to choose 2 buttons. I'm going to choose a green button, and I'm also going to choose a switch. This is just what I like to see. So if you prefer to see something else, have at it. But for me, this just kind of makes a lot of sense. So this first button here, I'm going to go and choose system actions from, and I'm going to choose play stop. And that's going to give me the ability to control this button here from my MIDI controller. And for this one here, I am going to use system actions again, but I am going to use the metronome parameter here. So let's take a look at what these do. So we'll pop over into Setlist View, and you see at the bottom of the screen here, we've got the buttons that we just mapped. When I turn this on, you'll see it toggles that play stop button. And when I toggle this up and down, you'll see the metronome goes on and off. So if the metronome is on and running, I can turn it off and leave the playhead, or I can stop the play. Now, when I do this, the most often way that I go about it is I actually use the play stop and I leave the metronome running. Because typically when I'm pulling the metronome out, it's because I'm not bringing the metronome back in. But perhaps you really do want to stay in time, but you have audio running or something else. So you don't want to actually stop the playhead. You just want to stop the metronome. So I think it's nice to have both of those options in there. And that's how I like to set this up. Okay, let's keep pushing forward, friends. So We've done our visual tour. I want to walk you through what's going on in this song. So this is not your typical Amazing Grace, but if you are playing at any contemporary church, you've probably heard this song before, and it's one that gets done a decent amount where I play. So this is a rack space that has a piano sound, it has a pad sound, and then it has this bypassed button. So for my intro, what I've chose, and again, my face is blocking you, is I've chose this particular variation that has a piano sound, a pad, and then up at the very top, this other lead sound that allows me to play that lead. So at the intro of this song, I can start, have whatever is going on. There's perhaps a count incoming, and I have the ability to play. And that's my intro. And as that dies down, I can then move to my next verse. And when I do that, the keys that I used to have only for my lead synth now have become keys that have piano on it. So I'm able to play piano. Now, a couple of other things happened, right? If you listen down here, when I'm in my intro, I've got a pretty quiet pad sound. And when I jump to the verse, my filter has popped up. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen, if you look here, you're going to see Gig Performer is switching variations for me. So it knows, hey, when you get to the verse, use this particular iteration of the rack space, use this variation. Now, I could, using my MIDI controller, go back up to intro the next time that comes in. But part of the upside of using Setlist View is that you don't have to go backwards. You can just keep going forwards, and you can really just have the next button. And that way you can move through without ever having to go back. So after I've gone through, I know that I'm going to want to move to my chorus, and I'll have my same thing going on. But, when I just did that now, I thought, wow, it would be better if we had a little bit more pad. Now, you can see on the screen that this volume is all the way up, so I can't actually get more pad from the volume, but I can get a more pad sound from this filter. So I'm going to adjust this filter, and what you're going to notice is that, well, immediately I have more pad. But if I go to verse and back to chorus, I no longer have it. And this is done on purpose, right? So maybe you make an adjustment on the fly when you're performing, and you don't want it to be that particular way the next time you come back. However, Gig Performer has built in our ability to create a variation of a variation, and we call that a snapshot. So I know that when I get to this part of the song, I want more pad. So I'm going to go ahead and increase this filter. And then at the top right of the screen here, there's this little floppy disk. And if I click it, it says created snapshot, and it gives me this compare button. So this is really cool because now I get to say, hey, do I like what I did? So when I press compare, you'll see filter jumps down to what it was. And when I let go, it pops up. Now, if I don't like it, I can just revert to original, and I'm good to go. But actually, I do like it in this case. So I'll create a snapshot, and now the snapshot is created. When I go back to verse and I go into chorus, I have a bigger filter open, and I still have my my lead synth up at the top. So what I've done here is I've really created a way that I can build in, just by using the next button, all of my changes. So when I come down here, this particular part of the song ends with like a 6-5-4 walk down. I get this. Wow, I've done that well. And that allows me to have that sound with kind of that built-in swell right before the next variation comes in with that lead synth, which just gives the song some dynamic only by going to the next button. So we've got more on song parts, but I want to pause just for a moment, first of all, to allow you to ask questions. I'm going to dive into creating a new song here in a second. So I might answer your question, but I want to celebrate. Tehran posted that his victory or his aha moment was using a global Rackspace for essentially mixing and controlling the entire performance. This is a really cool thing that you can do. If you have a ton of Rackspaces and you're running your Rackspaces to the global Rackspace, then you're able to essentially create an in-ear mix if you want to, or really have global control over volumes. It can be a really powerful tactic. So Tehran, congratulations. That's a great aha moment. Thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions while I'm going through this, feel free to post them in the comments. We are watching. We want to hear from you. But right now, we're going to go ahead and create a new song because Gig Performer gives us some cool options when we do that. So we can create a new song by coming up here to our triple dots, and you'll see add new set list. So this is kind of another feature we should maybe touch on in a bit here. But right now, I'm just going to click create new song. And when I do that, you'll see this song properties box pops up. And it gives us the ability to do name, artist, key, transpose if you want, tempo, and then even sending program change numbers. So for those of you who are using external gear and you want to send a program change, Gig Performer allows you to actually do that from the song part, which is awesome, right? So you can just build it in if you know the particular setting you want. You program it once, and then when you call up that song, it sends it, and you are good to go. So I'm going to do another song that I play often, and I'm actually going to do a third one after that. This is called Rest on Us, and I'm going to do it also in the key of A. And I'm going to do this here where it says override global tempo. So I want my metronome to switch, and I don't want to do it manually, right? Like I want it to just switch and do it for me. I can't even remember what this tempo marking is. So let's try it at 100 and we'll proof it here in a bit. So we'll hit OK. And I'm going to go back to our first song. And here's my metronome. Now, when I go to the next tune, you'll see it already jumps down to the next tempo at 100 BPM. So if I'm in Amazing Grace, 115. And here it jumps down to 100. But this is actually not quite the speed I would usually hope for. So Gig Performer has a tap tempo. So I guess we'll go with like 125 for now, and we'll see how that feels. Okay, let's hear that metronome. Okay, cool. So you'll see by default, right, we've got loaded in here our 3 songs that we saw in our settings earlier. You can change this, but I left it 3 song parts, intro, chorus, verse. And to start on this particular song, what I need is a piano pad. Now, in my Rackspaces, I have a piano sound, and this is not labeled the best. This is actually a piano pad sound, and you'll hear when I play it, it is what it sounds like. It's a piano pad, and I've also got this button that allows us to have an octave, upper lower octave doubling. So when I go into my set list, if I'm in intro and I go ahead and I jump to that piano sound, now that is going to be my intro song. So when I move from one to the next, it's going to call up automatically whatever Rackspace you put in there. And in this case, for me, I have put in this piano sound, and I'm going to turn on my octave thing here. And because that's not a variation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a snapshot again, just like we practiced in the last song, by clicking this button. So now Gig Performer knows, hey, make sure you save that widget value. We'll test. And it still works. So very top of the song, you play your chord, you've got this sound, and then we need this next section to come in. And we have it for our intro, just like that. We've actually got a question coming in from Schamass, the man himself. If you haven't checked out his episode of Backstage, he does a great job talking about panel design, and he's got lots of stuff you can check out even on the community forum. So he's asking, what sound are you using? I can tell you what sound I'm using. It's a Pigments preset. Let's see here. I guess I should just go back to Setlist. I can't even remember what patch it was. Piano_1. Okay. So here's Pigments. It's called Jocko. I did make a couple of adjustments to this, largely in turning the filter down. Let me see if I can resize this window. There we go. So yeah, there's the original sound has a ton of glide on it. And I adjusted the filter a little bit, but this is basically a preset from Pigments, which is one of my favorite synths. So that's what that is. Okay. So where were we here? So here's our first patch that we need, which is kind of this piano pad with the option to do that octavey thing on top. Now, the next thing that I need after that is a bass sound, but I need it to be bass and also all of these things. So what I'm going to demo here is actually just using the regular old Rackspaces, but if you're somebody who plays songs that are very ambient and use a lot of pads, it may be worth considering exploring the global Rackspace. We've got another video that we've done on that you can check out. If you have one sound and you're not throwing, everything there, but you have something that you really want to be continuing, then that's a great option for you. So I'm going to go to chorus, and right now I've got this piano pad, which, by the way, this thing, the front panel Rackspace that you're viewing, actually is adjusted from a template that we have within Gig Performer. So if you need help with the front panel design, or you just want kind of good to go, ready to go stuff, we have some of those when you open at the very top. But I'm going to go back to my piano_1. No, I'm not. I'm going to go back to my piano and bass, which I think is just labeled bass. Let's see here. Okay. Here it is, piano and bass. Okay. Here. There we go. Okay. So you'll hear when I play up at the top, I've got my same exact sound, but when I play at the bottom, I've got bass. And I think I accidentally switched that out. So let's fix that. Where is my bass sound? Well, I know where my piano sound is, so we'll start with that. And chorus, piano and bass. Here we go. Nice. So we've got a really simple layer, and Gig Performer is switching for us. So we don't have to think about what sounds come next. I know when I need that extra low-end thing happening, that synthy thing that we just know is kind of that sound, I just hit the next button on my MIDI controller, and it moves us to where we need to go next. Now, the third sound that I need is completely different, and it's an organ sound. So when I come down here to verse, I can choose organ. And now in this song, I've got all programmed in that I know my metronome needs to be at 125. It'll start as soon as I select that song. And I know my three sounds that I have are all set up in order. I lost that variation when I lost my set. And then when I finally move over to my organ, I've got it and I'm good to go. So again, we started the whole episode talking about how, like, what is profound about this software? It's easy to use and it's fast, right? We've got a million super features that make everything kind of feel good to perform with. But when you get into Setlist View, if you have built your Rackspaces, all you have to do is tell Gig Performer what you want to happen at what part of the song, and you are good to go. It happens that quickly. You can also add another song part if you need to, just by right mouse clicking and choosing add new song part. So if you know there's a bridge that's going to come next, you don't have to have all of those things in by default. Now, you'll notice earlier I was talking about how we've got the title over here and the next and the previous on top. So we do have those things now because we've got two tunes. So simple setup, but it works, right? And what it really does is it allows you to focus on the most important thing, which is actually playing the music, right? We've done the work of the programming. We've done the work of thinking through how everything is going to work. And now it's time to perform. Now it's time to play. So this just takes all of the mental strain of remembering what comes next off. And all you're responsible for is hitting the next button so you can move through your song parts. Okay, so let's go through here and create one more tune. If you have any questions, I actually see David has popped on. He is backstage. So he's here to answer any questions you might have if you've got any. Yeah. Okay. So here goes. We're going to create another song. Triple dots. Create new song. So I'm going to call this song Funky Duck. And if you are wondering if that is actually a song, this is indeed actually a song. It's one of my son's favorite songs. He's 10 months old. It is what it is. But it's by a band called Wolfpack, and they're really awesome. This happens to be a silly song, but they use some cool sounds. So I was like, why not? Let's just go for it. I'm not going to use a metronome for this one, but you certainly have the ability to do it. And this one is in E flat minor. So if you want to have that kind of saved in there so you remember what key it's in, you can go ahead and do that. So this song starts with like a Moog bass sound. So for my intro, that's basically what it is. I'm actually going to show you this sound because this was kind of a fun one to build. So we can ignore the electric piano for now, but Arturia has a really fun VST that makes just some great tunes. This is a preset. I tweaked it a little bit. That's one of them. And then I actually have it layered. These guys are kind of doing the same thing, but I'm just pulling in different parts of the sound, adjusting these oscillators slightly. Those are running through a mixer, and then it's kind of running into the speakers so you can see them. On my MIDI in block, I have this split out so that I don't have any overlapping, right? I just want my bass sound to exist down here. So I've just learned the upper level so that anything above that gets no bass sound. But you'll probably notice there's some electric piano coming through. And I've done the same thing, but opposite, by learning the lowest note on that other MIDI in block. So this is a song that actually only has two sounds in it. And I wanted to do this example because we don't always need to have songs that have a ton of parts. It could be totally possible that one of the songs in your set list just has a piano sound. It's still worthwhile to use the setlist view because at least then you know what song you're on. The piano comes up and you can kind of move through in a linear order. So you're not thinking about patches when you're playing. So all this does is give me this lower bass here. And later in the song, there's another part that does this. And that would be it. So if I was playing this tune with a band, I would play electric piano sometimes, and I would play bass all the other times. And that would be it for the whole tune. So I wouldn't even need these choruses or these verses. So I could remove these song parts. You can come down here and remove selected song part if you don't need them. Okay, so see here, remove selected song part. So this would be it. This would be my set list. And using my MIDI controller, I could come through and navigate through each of these tunes so that we can just see, hey, this is the order that I'm going in. These are my Rackspaces, keeping it really simple. Now, like I mentioned, you can map some other things to Setlist View, but we like to make it so that it just works. Gig Performer is really designed to do that. So friends, we're about to wrap up here. So if you've got any questions about Setlist View, you're wondering about something, feel free to let us know in the comments. Next week, we are going to be focusing on how we can kind of start ahead. So we're going to be looking at our templates a little bit. We're going to be looking at our panel templates and how we can actually use that to remove the need to map almost completely. And we're going to really be focusing on how to not redo any work. Also, next week, we've got a special announcement coming up during our live stream. So in addition to lots of tips, lots of tricks, kind of really opening this up so that we can keep it simple, powerful, and effective, Gig Performer's got some exciting news. We're very pumped to share with you guys next week, same time as always. So if we have no other questions, we are going to wrap up for today. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for joining us week after week. We appreciate you so much. If you got value out of this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you think somebody else would get value out of this video, share it with them because it helps us get the word of Gig Performer out. Serious musicians use serious tools, and this is a really serious tool. We've got a great question coming in here. Let's see. Wick Beavers. Let's pull it in here. Okay. Once you have 3 Rackspaces individually set up, I'd love to see set up for a live performance of 3 songs, say with different arrangements and instruments. So I think I'll have to review this. Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. I actually was brainstorming this morning what comes after this particular series, and it may be something similar to this. Feel free to go back. In the next couple of days, we'll have timestamps and everything set up for this song. So that you guys can move through it in a bit more of an expedient way. Okay, friends, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Make sure you connect with us on Facebook. Make sure you connect with us in the community. We will see you next week, same time, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, guys.